now, geek fans, welcome back. It's time for another in-depth review of Geeks At The Movies. This is where we bring you a bit of film criticism and a history lesson all rolled into one. My name's Shane Goodrich. I'll be your host today, and joining me is our new lead writer at Geeks At The Movies, Rachel McLeod.
Hey, everybody.
Oh yeah! Today we are talking about Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, the 2007 film made by HBO. This tells the story of Oyesa, also known as Charles Eastman, a Sioux Indian that has taken on, probably I think in his teenage years, assimilated into white culture, ends up becoming a doctor, and is now working with the government, working with Senator Dawes to try to help with the assimilation process, to try to help with the process of getting these people on reservations and turning to a more American style of living as opposed to their traditional ways. And at the beginning of the story, Charles Eastman, he is fully on board. He believes in this cause. He sees what education has done for him. He still remembers his Indian culture, and he has some issues with what happened and how he was assimilated. But overall, he's confident that the government has the best interests at heart, that Senator Dawes has the best interests of his Native people at heart. But then when he actually goes onto the reservation, he learns that the reality is quite different than what he was told. It is a desperate situation. People are barely getting by, high rates of alcoholism, very few supplies, people are getting sick and ill. There's all these epidemics and outbreaks. It's just a miserable, miserable life. Rachel, what did you think of the film?
I thought this was a great film, a great sequel, if you will, or a great follow-up to an early movie we just reviewed, Dance with the Wolves, in which case we're seeing the assimilation and the stripping away of the Native American identity from the Native Americans for the favor of basically white America. So when we first meet Oyesa as a young boy, we get to see the impact that the education system has on him. He's now forced to basically strip away his Native identity and adopt the name Charles in a very chilling, nasty scene with a teacher who is basically spewing some myths about his culture and his tribe. In order for him to correct the teacher, he's got to assume a Christian name. So we see a little the impact of Christianization upon Native tribal culture. But as he grows up and as he becomes educated, he truly believes that he can use his education for good, to return to the tribes, help them deal with the disease that's being rampant in their reservations and in their camps and whatever have you. He believes he can use his medical knowledge for good. Little does he know that the deals that he's being made or the situations that he's being placed in kind of turn sour very fast when Senator Dawes realizes that he can use the tribe or manipulate the tribe or basically go overhanded with the tribe for land grabs and for mining rights and for
railroad rights
and all that fun stuff.
And also, as Charles Eastman, he realized that he's being manipulated by Senator Dawes and by the United States government because he's being used as a tool to convince natives to get on board. Look how great it turned out for him.
Right.
But of course, for the vast majority of the Native people, that is not what's going to happen. This is a very unusual situation for him. And the actual situation on the reservation is just desperation and poverty and brutality. And it's a story of a people who are over and over and over and over again manipulated and conned and bamboozled by the American government.
Right.
I mean, reading about it, I've read about Native culture quite a bit and about all the various treaties we made and then we broke. We made treaties and then we broke them. It's ridiculous. Seeing it on screen, hearing Red Cloud, an actor portraying Red Cloud, talk about how, I agreed to this treaty, but you just kind of forgot about that. And then I agreed to this treaty, but then you changed that treaty. And now you're coming at me again at the beginning of the film, another treaty. And then halfway through the film, but now we have another one. It is ridiculous. It's laughable. If this had actually happened, I would laugh about it. Like, this is so silly.
Right.
This could be like a sketch on SNL. Oh, we got a new treaty. But no, it's actually happened. These people are just constantly manipulated, just at the whims of white America. They want the Black Hills. You know what? We'll give you a little bit of it when we didn't care about it. But now there might be some precious metals. Well, now we need to take it from you, and we use whatever excuse possible, and that's what we see here.
I mean, the wonderful plus to this movie is you get to see the politics behind all the maneuvers of white America to the Native Americans. You get to see what the real motivations are, which are land rights, money grabbing, mineral rights, and like how every step of the way it really comes down to profits mean more than these people. And they didn't even see them as people. They really still saw them as savages. And they thought, well, there was maybe a faction of government that said, well, if we just civilized and show these savages the benefits of white America and our culture, then they'll turn to our side. They'll give us their land freely, and then we'll all be happy together, and all big homogenized melting pot of culture. But the reality is that these folks really don't understand the deals that are being offered. They're not lawyers. They don't know the value of the land. They know the value of land in the sense that this is where we're going to live. This is where we grow our crops. This is where we hunt. They don't see it in the way that white America sees it, where this is where we're going to run some railroad. This is where we're going to dig for gold or or ore or whatever have you, for steel and whatever have you. We see the West as a land of opportunity, whereas they see it as this is where we live, this is where we've died, this is where we're born, this is our home, as opposed to a commodity.
Yes, and I've seen this from reading numerous experts about the tribal life and about people trying to come into tribal communities to help them out, even with those with the best intentions. You have missionaries who they come into these tribal communities and like, hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, I dress this way, I talk this way, I live this way, and it's great. It's wonderful. So if I just show them how wonderful it is, of course they'll like it. Right. They never, ever can seem to look at it from the actual perspective of the tribe, of the actual native people. Right. They just can't get into that mindset. It's so foreign to them.
There's no empathy.
Right, there's no empathy. They just don't get it. It's like, no. This is how I live. I grew up this way. There's no compromise about that either. And there's no like, oh, well, we'll meet you halfway, or oh, well, you can keep speaking your native language and you can also learn English. No. It's you stop speaking your native language and you speak English. Right. Right. There's no give. There's no give and take. It's my way or the highway.
Yeah, I think even from early on in the movies, it's pretty much established by the government. It's like, if these folks don't take our deals, well, the alternative is their extinction. Genocide. We have no problem killing off Native Americans. We've done it many a times before.
For hundreds of years, we've been killing Native peoples and displacing them.
So, I mean,
no big deal. Let's do some more.
The fact that there might have been some faction within government that's willing to negotiate is maybe a small positive in our own history, but we have a really dark history when it comes to Native American affairs and Native American relations.
And this brings this out. So this is a sad film. Because you see Adam Beach playing Charles Beachman. You also see probably the only sympathetic white character, his wife, played by Anna Paquin, as Lane Goodale, that actually what happened on the reservations. This is a very good portrayal of showing the desperation these people had, showing the loss of culture. Some of the vignettes in the movie are very sad. There's at one point there's a policeman on the reservation, a native policeman. He used to be a warrior, and he's in this corral, this pen. He's on horseback. And they release a bull or a cow or whatever. And then he starts hooting and hollering, making a big deal, like he's on a buffalo hunt. And he kills the bull. And it's just a sad commentary on this is where we are today.
Father, we are lucky. Here the agent lets us hunt for our meat. Watch.
One bow!
longer the wanderers of the plains hunting buffalo, living off the land. Now we are stuck. We are corralled onto these reservations. This is our life now, and it's a miserable existence.
It's heartbreaking to see how they're trying to adjust to these transitions. They're trying to find a positive in a very negative. No longer are they going to be living in a camp setting. No longer do they have free reign over the land. They are corralled.
Yeah.
And not only the corralled, but now their dress, their manner of dress has changed. Their language has to change. Their names have to change. Everything about them has to change. Their lifestyles have to change. No longer can they get their own food. Now they got to get some ration tickets and go to an office and say, here's my ration ticket. Now I need my allotment of food. And where's the incentive for their life?
It's dehumanizing. And we see, and also what I like about this film is it brings in a lot of famous characters. You see someone like, say, Sitting Bull. We see his story, him trying to save his people. The very beginning of the film starts with the Battle of the Little Bighorn. We also see Red Cloud. So we see a number of famous incidents, and of course, the title of the film, "Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee," refers to the 1890 massacre of Wounded Knee, which happens near the end of the film, which is just another sad example of just a bunch of people being mowed down by the U.S. Army. It's a sad movie, but it depicts reality, and it really, I feel, it needs to be shown because people need to know this is what actually happened. This is what we actually did to Native peoples. Forget any folklore. Forget any whitewashing. This is the reality of Native people. This is what happened to them. We destroyed their culture systematically. We did horrible things to them, and here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is.
And the beautiful thing about the movie also is that it was paced well, and it's like very episodic. You're going to see bits and pieces in a very linear fashion. We're seeing how white America impacts the Native story through these characters, and each character has their own little episode. And they're interspersed with black and white photographs, and I thought, wow, this is kind of neat.
Yes,
it's a very nice little touch there.
Recreated black and white photographs.
Right, but still, it's a nice touch. And
yes.
And the other great thing about this is that these are actual events. These are actual people that we're getting to see glimpses of their lives. This isn't all fiction. There's no fiction involved. I mean, Sitting Bull is Sitting Bull, and Charles Eastman is in fact Charles Eastman. And we later find out, maybe in the epilogue or postlog, is that he became a major player in Native American affairs, like a part of the interior.
Yes, he went on to actually be an advocate for his people. So originally he was just on the side of the government, and he kind of believed in the assimilation process. He realized that process just hurt his people. It just further destroyed his people and his culture. So he became a strong Indian advocate, and his wife helped him in doing that advocacy work. Now, this is something that I want to mention here. When we talk about accuracy, usually when we do these reviews, we're not speaking so much about the actual narrative structure, because this is a film, so they have to eliminate some episodes. They have to put things in time closer together than they might have occurred. But what I'm talking about is a period authenticity. Does it get the flavor right? When we were talking about The Patriot, and one of the things that it got so wrong was it had a South Carolina plantation owner who wasn't a slave owner. So their whole depiction of slavery and its role at that time period in America was just very distorted.
Right.
That's just here though we actually get a solid feel of what did the average white person, what did the people in government think about Native peoples, how did you live on the reservation, and your life wasn't very good.
The attitudes were right, the atmosphere was correct. We got to see full blown the racism, the attitudes against the Native Americans. We got to see the confusion and the different factions even within Native Americans. We can't even say that there was a consensus among Native Americans. There's a lot of disparity amongst the Native Americans for what was a good deal, what's a bad deal. Well, I want my land, I want some money, at least I could do something with the money. Well, are you going to turn your back on Native culture? Well, for the money, are you selling out? There was a lot of identity issues within Native American cultures and within the populace, but we saw that. And it wasn't all whitewashed, here's your line, good guy, bad guy, all Native Americans think alike, all white guys think alike. We didn't get that at all. This is very real. We got all kinds of different identity issues in this movie, and I thought that was great too.
Even Charles Eastman's father, the reason that he ends up being raised in a Christian school and becoming a doctor is because his father became a Christian. So his father comes near the beginning of the movie, shortly after the Battle of the Little Bighorn, and it's like, I'm back. I'm taking my son out of here because this lifestyle is just going to lead to his death and destruction.
And it was very dangerous because we had the white soldiers were tromping through the camps, slaughtering them all very arbitrarily, and just for the sake of his safety, he had to take his son.
I mean, this is the end of the Indian Wars, where there was a lot of fighting and a lot of loss. I mean, there was loss on both sides, but obviously much more so for the native peoples. Now I want to bring in one point before we review the film that I did have a fault with the movie in terms of accuracy, and that was the overuse of English. One thing I liked about Dance with Wolves is Dance with Wolves, it had some issues translation-wise. I know there's some criticisms, but we got to hear Lakota. We got to hear people speaking their native tongue, and it so much enriched the film.
Yeah.
And it made you really feel like you're there.
Right.
Here, at times, every single native character is essentially fluent in
Clean English, book perfect English.
I mean, it's that.
You didn't get to see the learning curve. You didn't get to see the struggles.
No, I would have liked to see
Where's
some
the
of that.
translators? It's like, are you telling me that you just plucked these guys out from the camp and suddenly they know English? It's
Right.
Like, how did that happen?
That bothered me, because that also plays a major role in identity. And the loss of identity was there was no give and take. It wasn't like, okay, you can speak Lakota and English. No. It was, you can't speak Lakota and you have to speak English.
Right.
So they could have showed a little more of that.
It kind of gave an impression that some of the assimilation was rather easy.
Right. That's
not the case
that
at
wasn't
all.
the case. So that was problematic. Otherwise, though, I like the politics that were shown. I liked how the white characters, even when they weren't around native peoples, still kind of kept up the farce of, oh, well, we care about them. Right. And it's like they're like wink, wink, nudge, nudge to each other. Well, yeah, we're gonna help them out. Yeah.
No, wink, wink. Yeah.
Except for one guy. One guy didn't do that. There's an army colonel or captain in the beginning of the film. He's like, you know what, Sitting Bull, you attacked a bunch of people and took their lands. Well, now we're doing the same to you.
Right.
Because we can.
Right. You pointed out a little bit of hypocrisy, and that's real too. And that's the beauty of the charm of the movie was that there was a lot of realism. It's like pointing out, hey, look, you're the fighting Sioux, right? You were renowned for being, fighters and warriors. Well, how's that any different from what we're doing?
Right. So it's a good multifaceted film.
Yeah.
What would you give it as a score?
I give it a 5 as a step up from Dance with Wolves. There is no great white savior story. Great realism, and it's a great depiction of that breaking up of the Native American culture.
I'm going to give this 4 stars because the lack of the use of the native tongue did bother me quite a bit in terms of authenticity. Also, I felt at times some of the acting, so there are certain scenes where the acting wasn't quite up to par. A lot of times it was relatively minor scenes. Sometimes it may have had to do with younger actors, but it wasn't quite what I expect from HBO, who usually has really top-notch acting, occasional melodrama, I guess you could say. But overall, this excellent film, a sad film, but it depicts the reality of reservation life and the destruction of native culture. Yeah. Hopefully next time we're going to move on to maybe a different time period, talk about something that maybe be completely new. We'll figure that out.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, it'll be a surprise. So stay tuned for more in-depth reviews at Geeks at the Movies, where you get film criticism and a history lesson all rolled into one. I'm Shane Goodrich.
I'm Rachel McLeod.
This is Geeks at the Movies.
Doo-doo-doo.